Good afternoon, guys. I hope you're having a great day. Hopefully you can all hear me well. Shayla, a nod of the head if you can hear me. Great, thank you. Guys, if we can put cameras on, that would be amazing. My name is Bianca Denham. I know we all know each other quite well by now. Welcome to session number 6 of our Scripts and Dialogue Club. Great to see you, Fiona. Jin, thank you for putting your camera on. We've just got Bailey, Peter. Bailey, great to see you there. Camilla, great to see you. Thank you. And Paul, if you could put your cameras on, that would be amazing. So we've just got a nice small group today, so feel free to jump in and comment, unmute yourselves. Hey, Tiana, how you going? Good to see you there. No worries. So if you've got anything to say, unmute yourself. We'll jump straight in. So this is our 6th session of our Scripts and Dialogue Club. Today we're going to be talking about vendor management. So as you will have noticed, as we've worked through the various sessions, the content has become slightly more focused on securing business, and now we're working on moving the stock. So we're sort of a little bit into our stock management area. So today I wanted to start with this slide to sort of set up the mindset of what we're going to be trying to tackle with this session. So what we're here to do as professional real estate agents is to provide our clients with sufficient information so that they can make an educated decision. That's essentially all we can do. We can't control the market. We can't make buyers buy property they don't want to. All we can do is really give our clients great service, great feedback and information so that when the right offer comes along, they're in a position to recognize that and move on. And then the other slide that I wanted to put in, now this is possibly not a Kelly Tatlow quote, but I heard Kelly Tatlow say this, so I've quoted her. But it's this quote of professionals act as they must, not as they feel. So what these 2 slides are talking about is getting really great quality feedback and information to your vendors so that they can make a great decision, and doing what's difficult sometimes. This is what I think can be the real key to great vendor management and great vendor service, is being able to sit down and confront head on sometimes a campaign that might not be going the way of the vendors. And I think if you can get that conceptually into your head, you'll be okay. So we will talk about some dialogue. I think this session is the least dialogue-y of all of them. It's more a roadmap for success. We will use some dialogue as we go through, but really just making sure that we kind of use this as a guideline for our own behaviour during the campaign. So a lot of you will have seen this slide before, and I think it's a really great summary of where we need to keep ourselves in check as we go through the campaign. So this is, as you will have seen before, the timeline of a sale. So starting over here, when we list the property, we're getting it ready, we're launching, we're going to market, property looks amazing, we get really, really excited vendors. Over time, if we don't sell, then concern can start to slip in. Now, this slide has been put together for a normal market situation. And for some of you, you won't need to be doing much vendor management because the market will be outpacing your vendors' expectations. For some of you, that won't be the case. For some, you'll still have kind of fairly normal conditions. Then you may also start to see some of your vendors starting to shift their expectation on price up, which is what we are seeing in the market now. Vendors have got used to the fact that the market is good, that homes are selling for an amazing price. So please don't take for granted that the market's just going to take you there. You need to make sure you follow this process every time, and then you'll never have, well, not never, I can't guarantee that, but you'll have less frequent problematic vendors. You'll have happy vendors who feel like you did an amazing job and that they achieved the best result, no matter what that result was. So the reason we've got this one in here, this is about the professionals acting as they must, not as they feel. Because what happens over time, and I know some of you will have seen this, when we don't sell, concern slips in, and then we can start to apportion blame. So a vendor could start to say, property's been on the market for 3 weeks, we haven't sold, we haven't got the results that we want, therefore I'm going to blame Bailey because Bailey hasn't got me what I wanted. But what we can do is that if we give great service and communication and give high quality feedback, and make high quality recommendations, then the vendor can be in a position to recognize it's the market. It's not you as an agent. You're not in control of the market. And then they can move towards a point of responsibility. The thing that I want to talk about here is rescuing. In relation to our dialogue, this is possibly what we need to stop doing rather than what we need to do. So does anybody want to come off mute and talk to the group about what a rescuing piece of dialogue would be with a seller? What would be something that you might say, or you might have heard, that you would consider to be a rescuing language? Rescuing language is not what we want. What could that sound like? Does anybody want to have a go and give me an example of some rescuing dialogue? Okay, so I'll give you an example of rescuing dialogue.
I can try.
Go, Paul. I'd love to hear from you.
It's where you sort of give them information that they want to hear.
Okay, give me more.
Like, oh, we've got really good interest, or we've got a great offer, or something to try and keep them happy as such.
Look, if those two things are true, those two examples in and of themselves are not necessarily rescuing. If it's not true, though, absolutely, that's rescuing. So if you say, we've got great interest and you don't have great interest, that's absolutely rescuing. Bailey, you just went off mute.
Yeah, is rescuing, are you just saying like excuses?
Yeah, on behalf of the vendor.
For example, it was the AFL Grand Final on Saturday. That's why we didn't have numbers out. Or next week, long weekend. It's just an excuses. Yeah, not true.
Here's some other examples of rescuing. Thank you, Paul and Bailey. Great feedback. We've got you an offer, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, but, it's not very good. It's a bit low. I reckon we can get you more. That's another example of a rescue. We didn't have many people through. It's probably because of the weather. Rescuing behaviour can also come about when we're doing negotiation. Now, we're getting into negotiation next week, but for example, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, we've had this offer presented. Shayla's put in an offer. She's put in $450, but I reckon I can probably get her up. Like, if I don't know I can, that's rescuing language. So this is the whole professionals act as they must, not as they feel. Now, this comes into a little bit of human psychology. It is, and we need to talk about it because it's actually normal. It's a sign of having empathy to want to make people feel better when the campaign isn't going the way they want them to. So, my vendors want 600,000. The market is suggesting it's only worth 560. Oh, it's natural human instinct for me to go, oh, I really hope it's there. You trying to be a good person, trying to do the best you can. You want to give people hope. However, that's not the job of a professional. The job of a professional is to simply present the facts. So this is in our, what we learn to not say in our dialogue session is to deviate from the facts. So that will take some practice on your behalf. When you find yourself wanting to jump in with the dialogue that makes people feel better about themselves, you need to actually check that if it is getting in the way of the facts of the campaign. Do we have any questions on that concept of not rescuing, of what we need to let go of? There's going to be lots and lots of examples that will come up. I suppose the most pointed thing that I would say for your dialogue with vendor management, it's not giving false hope. So don't ever give any kind of false hope that you think there will be more people, there will be higher offers, because you might actually be getting in the way of the campaign. And we often see, particularly in relation to price reduction, there's a point where agents are very good at reducing the price where it comes to alignment with their appraisal or their estimate of price. Once the price goes below that, agents are often the barrier to the sale. So you just need to be open-minded and think about, maybe sometimes, do you use that language? Do you give false hope? Do you try and make people feel better because it's human nature, but actually there's no evidence that potentially the hope that you're giving is based on any type of fact. So it can be kind of hard especially early in your career, it can be really quite difficult to have these conversations, but you're a professional. This is what you're being paid for. And ultimately, your clients will respect you, and you will also get the property sold in a quicker time frame, or in a better time frame, and hopefully for a better price. This is just another image of where we're taking, we've spoken in the previous weeks about some of our buyer work, our open inspection, calling people, encouraging them to come to view the property. So that's what we need to do with the buyers on the bottom axis there. And then you can see the vendors graph is sort of coming down the other way. So this is what we're doing. It's using the example of an auction. This isn't relevant only to auction sales. It's relevant to all sales, but generally, and again, I use the caveat of this is normal market. In some of your marketplaces at the moment, it's just fairyland, but there will be some conditions that will be starting to come in. And those conditions at the moment that we're seeing is vendors' prices are starting to creep up. So it's just about getting your vendor to understand where the market is so that they can feel really great about the price that they do accept when they take the sale. So there's some critical moments as we go through the sale campaign where we can really start to take control of the communication, take control of the vendor's reaction to the campaign as we go through. And this is one of the really early ones in the campaign. Some of you have probably seen this letter before. This is just an example. You don't have to use this specific letter template. This was actually from Anton Huang's team in Auckland. I've seen it delivered in other different formats, but essentially what it's doing is it's getting in right at the start of the campaign to set the expectations of the vendor. So the point that's really important here is you can see these highlighted lines in the letter where right before the property goes to the market, we're giving the vendor expectations of when we will be having a price review conversation. So we'll be having a price review conversation if we have 2 open inspections with less than 2 inspections per. Now, this was right for this office in this marketplace. These numbers would need to be tweaked for your own personal marketplaces. Or if we have 2 weeks that pass without a written offer, or if we have 1 week after an open inspection without a private inspection followed up. So this was the parameters, or these were the parameters rather, in this particular office that they decided if these things happen, we know that we're not hitting the market, we're not resonating with the buyers, so we need to have a review with our sellers. And so this is all about setting up permission with yourself and with your vendor to have a review of the conversation around price. Now, again, all of you on the phone call will have different processes around when you do have price review conversations. I'm going to sort of ask that question in a moment. In fact, I'm going to jump forward to that one and then come back. I actually would love to know, going around the room, for those of you who are running stock, when you're talking about reviewing the price with your clients, at what point would you do that? So at what point is it too soon to have a price reduction conversation? Or how soon should you have it? How often should you have it? Anyone who's on the call who's helping to manage stock at the moment, be happy to hear your thoughts. So Fiona, I can see you and your colleague there. At what point would you have a price reduction conversation with your client if the property wasn't sold? Oh, sorry, I've got to make you get up to unmute yourself. You're getting your steps in. It is September, so you'll thank me another time.
And now you've got this real front up on me as well. So it just gets better by the minute.
I won't ask you another question, I promise.
You can, it's all right. So price reduction, basically, I've done it pretty well after week 1. If I haven't had the interest, because only within this market, things are so nuts here. So our days on market are non-existent. You put a sign up before you've actually advertised it, you've already got people. So pretty much after, straight away, we're doing it. To be honest though, we actually have only done 1 price reduction on all of our properties in the last 12 months.
Wow, amazing.
So
how about pre this, because you've been in the industry for a while, is that right, Fiona?
Yeah, but I've only been selling for a year. So
okay.
my background's property management and,
right.
and management of offices. So
Wow. No, well done. So look, I love that answer. You're doing it, you know that if you don't hit the mark in that first inspection in this market, there's a problem. So that's awesome. Does anybody else want to contribute? Thanks, Fiona. Sorry for making you get up.
It's a pleasure.
Shayla and Tiana, I see. Oh, Bailey, yep, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're running a lot of auctions at the moment. So we're normally having these discussions in the week leading up to the auction.
Okay. So you don't have any price conversations prior to that reserve set meeting?
No, we just let them dwell on the vendor reports.
Okay. Dwell, that's an ominous word. Would anybody else like to share their process around when they introduce the concept of needing to review price? What I would say is that our best auction practitioners at the moment haven't changed their process from pre-COVID craziness, which means sticking to the green stock, black stock. I know that most of your stock boards don't look like this anymore, but what I quite like about this one is, it's quite nice and simple, remembering that we need alignment to this interest level column. So for those of you who are not across the stock boards, and a lot of offices are not using them at the moment because, to Fiona's point, stock is flying in a lot of agencies. But this stock board does exist. It is in play in all of your businesses if you do want to use it. Essentially, what we look at is the vendor's price, the agent's price, and then the interest level. For those of you who've done our stock management series, you'll know that this interest level price is generated automatically 10% below the team price. And if the vendor price and the team price are within 5% of each other, it'll be indicated green, meaning it's a saleable piece of stock. The most important thing is being really aware of this interest level, whatever that is. Even in this market, even in this crazy, crazy market, our best agents are still controlling offers and price feedback in line with the interest level or below, so that we're having vendors who feel amazing about the result on auction day, which is really all we can look to control. So coming back to the critical moments in the campaign of everything that we do with our vendors from the moment of listing through to the moment of sale is about building on the trust that we've tried to demonstrate when we were prospecting for the business. And the more trust that you can build and foster during the campaign, the better the vendors will respond to your recommendations. And trust is built through really high level of service, okay? High level of service and high quality feedback. So this is an example of some critical moments where you can interact with your vendor, the traffic interaction. So every time you have people inspecting the property digitally or physically, you need to update your vendor. Okay, we did an open inspection for those of you who can. I know some of you can't at the moment. We did an open inspection. We had 7 groups through. It's really important that you update the vendor. We've had 6 inquiries on the internet since the last time we spoke 2 days ago. We've had 6 new inquiries come through. We've had several digital inspections where we've had to do video inspections with a tenant, for example, might be a situation in some of your marketplaces. The outcome of the inspections, that will come into the vendor report. So how many people came through, whether we had interested buyers, whether we had any offers. Vendor report, I'm not going to go into detail about the language that goes into the vendor report, but obviously that's critical. What you put in the vendor report will be what will, as Bailey mentioned before, be what the vendor dwells over or what they ponder. Vendor meetings are obviously really critical moments throughout the sale. Some of you will be doing them weekly, some of you will be doing them virtually because of COVID or just distance because of offsite owners. And then repositioning discussions may need to be had. So really key moments that you do need to make sure you engage with the vendor in and around all of these outcomes. And if a repositioning discussion is required, repositioning is repositioning the price, and sometimes it's also moving a marketing or a method approach. You might need to switch it. And in this market, we're seeing quite a lot of agents go, we're on a private treaty, I'm being overwhelmed with interest. I'm actually going to make a recommendation that we reposition to auction because I don't want to have to deal with 40 offers. Some of you guys are getting unbelievable numbers of offers. It's better, it's more efficient You're going to get a better outcome if you actually move that to an auction process where those bidders can see social proof of what the underbidder is willing to pay, and then rather than deal with all those offers behind closed doors. So coming back to this screen before, we talked about the price reduction. The point of my questions to you earlier was there is no such thing as a specific time frame that you need to stick to. You might have heard me tell the story about an office that I went and did some training, some listing presentation training in a couple of years ago now. So it was certainly pre-COVID, and average days on market in that marketplace were 90. And most of the agents in the office spoke to the average days on market. And then the one agent who spoke about their average days on market being half. And the only difference was that they had a price reduction conversation at week 2 instead of week 6. So your ability to tackle the difficult information really head on early in the campaign will dictate when the vendor is ready to accept the reality. So taking away the excuses, you've got to look out for that rescuing language. Challenging the future is a really big one. You know, the vendors who say, I'm going to wait, you know, things, the market might keep rising. What evidence have we got to suggest that? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. The market has never been better than what it is right now. And the bottom one is really key. It's controlling the conversation. And the way that you can control the conversation that your vendors are having when you're not there is through presenting them with offers. So offers in line with the interest level will mean that your vendors are ready to accept a great offer when it comes along. They'll be able to recognize a great offer when it comes along. So I just want to have a chat about the presenting of an offer. So let's talk about a situation where Paul's our vendor. Paul wants 750,000, and we've had an offer presented by Jin, and Jin's presented an offer at 680,000. So Paul's not going to want that. It's $70,000 less than what he wants, almost 10% less than what he wants. So how would you present an offer like that? I want you to think about, we're not going to rescue, we're not going to try and give false hope. Who wants to have a crack at how you would present that offer? Vendors at 750, it's our first offer, it's coming at 680. Who feels brave enough to give that one a go? I'm seeing you smile there, Shayla. Oh, Fiona's coming over. She's a brave woman.
When you say there's a written offer on it, have you had more inspections or no inspections, or just that's it? Offers coming?
Can you come a little bit closer to the microphone, Fiona? Sorry.
Is it just an offer's just come in?
It's the first offer that you've had, and it's 70,000 below your vendor, who's at 750. How would you present that offer?
Oh, well, basically I'd be starting off with, fantastic, we've got an offer coming on your property. We know what your expectations are. This is an early offer in, and in today's market, people are really keen and they're offering what they really think it's worth. So here it is. Okay.
Excellent. So what I love, thank you, Fiona. What I loved about that was really positive at the outset. Fantastic, we've got an offer. Fantastic news, we have an offer on your property. So it's what can be tempting when we get an offer that is less than what our vendors want. It can be tempting to downplay it and to go, oh, you know, they've come in a bit light. You know, they're just, you know, just probably trying it out, maybe dipping their toe in the water. You can use diminishing language. So what Fiona did really well there was she was excited about it. So I would do similar to Fiona. I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, really excited. We've got the first offer on your property. We had Jin who came through and loved your property so much, he's actually made you an offer at $680,000. And that would be all I would say. Who's heard the adage, he who speaks first has lost? Go, Shayla, Tiana, what would you like to add?
Oh, sorry, I literally just unmuted myself to say exactly what you just said. She who speaks first loses.
Great. So it can be really, really hard to actually deliver dialogue like that. That's, you know, very direct, simple, and you just want to fill in the gaps because you feel awkward. But that is what you need to practice doing, because I haven't diminished the offer. I'm excited. I haven't lied. I haven't said that I'm going to get them up. It's the first offer. Jin loved the property so much that he's made an offer at 680,000. What some agents will do is say, look, he likes the property, but he feels that it needs a new kitchen and he needs to paint throughout. So he just, you know, he felt he could only offer 680, which that might be true, but it's still diminishing language. So excited, we've got an offer, it's at 680,000. Now the vendor will fill in the gap, but if the vendor genuinely doesn't say anything, you would say something like, okay, Paul, how do you feel about the offer? So how do you feel about that offer, Paul? And you'll get Paul to talk, and Paul will say, look, it's ridiculous, it's 70,000, I'm not taking that money. Sometimes Paul will say something that might surprise you. Paul might say something like, well, it's a bit lighter than we thought, it's a bit less, or I don't know if I could take that low. So you'll see when you don't fill in the gaps, the vendor will start to reveal where their intentions are, or where their heads at in terms of price. And if you're going to take the approach that Bailey takes, which is we're not actually going to have a price reduction conversation until reserve set meeting, it can actually start to help take away some of that uncertainty that you might have around where your vendor's at. You know, if you don't tackle it head on, you might just be hoping that the vendor is actually reading the feedback, observing the offers, and moving their expectations accordingly. But just keeping it really simple. Positive, I'm excited, we've got an offer. Jin loved the property so much that he's put it in writing, and he's made that offer at 680,000. How do you feel about the offer? So if we get that feedback of, that's ridiculous, I'm not taking it, they can go jump in the river, I don't want them at auction. The next piece of dialogue is, okay, Paul, I understand. What offer would you accept today? What offer would you accept today? And the reason that we're doing that is we're continually needing to feel where Paul's at. Now, Paul might say, Bianca, I told you I'm at 750. That's okay, Paul, I just need to check, because Jin might come back to me with another offer. I just want to be certain where you're at with Jin at this point in time. So similarly to the way we handle the vendor with presenting an offer, we actually need to take a similar approach to when we're receiving that offer. Let's just say that scenario happens where Jin goes, yeah, I really like the house, I want to make an offer at 680. What can be tempting is to go, oh, okay, oh, yeah, you can put it in writing if you want. You know it's 70 grand too light, you don't get excited. You need to get excited. Jin, you want to make an offer? Look, that's excellent. What I'll do is I'll send you a letter of offer, contract, whatever form it is that you want to work in with an offer at that level, and I'll get it in front of my vendor. So you need to have a bit of excitement about you. Okay, so week one, we've had the first round of opens or first lot of inspections, and we're having our feedback meeting with our vendor once we've sent the vendor report. Similarly to the way we would approach an offer, I need you to be really concise and fact-based when giving recommendations going forward. And I'll tell you what that would look like. So Shayla, we've had your first report. We've had 25 people inspect the property, as you saw. Of those 25 people, I've been able to have conversations with 17 of them. There's been a further 8 I've had to leave voice messages and text for, but I haven't spoken to them yet. Of the 17 people that we've spoken to, we've got 5 people who are showing some level of interest in your property. And of the 5, we've had 3 who have made you offers. The offers that we've had are 650,000, 680, and 700,000. So I don't need to teach you that dialogue, because that is simply the relaying of the facts. So we're just stating the facts. You could even bring it back further. You could talk about REA views, you could talk about email inquiries, but we're literally just sticking with the facts. This is where we're at. We've got 5 people who are interested, 3 who've made offers. How do you feel about that? And then we let them talk and we listen. Okay, we don't need to fill in the gaps. We don't need to rescue. We're just dealing with what we've got here in front of us. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've just spoken about? I know I've been doing a lot of talking. I don't want to race ahead if there's anything that you wanted to come back to so far. Excellent. Okay, so we've done the stock board. So talking about the vendor meeting, which was just the dialogue I was going into there, it's really important that you've got to be clear on the outcome that you want to come out of the meeting. So a vendor meeting after the first week would not be necessarily the same outcome that you would want to get to on the 4th week of a campaign, or if, let's say, you're running an auction campaign. Bailey's got an auction campaign, the vendor might be at 480, and we need them to be at 450 by auction day. In week 1, I don't necessarily need to have my vendor at 450. At the end of week 1, I might need to have my vendor talking, instead of 480, talking about 470, 475. You've got to be clear about what it is that you need to get out. No worries, Jin. Thank you. You've got to go to another meeting. Jin's just letting me know he's dropping off. Thanks for letting me know. You've got to show empathy. So if you're giving difficult information, sometimes people feel that they need to get tough with it. You don't need to be hostile. You can be really caring and empathetic without using that rescuing language. Positive, not negative, that's what we said, and really clear on our position. Our position is this. We've got 25 people, 5 of whom are actually showing interest and 3 of whom have made an offer. And that feedback is coming between 650 and 690,000. That's where the campaign sits. Now, Bailey, I know you wanted 750. No, you wanted 750. At this point in time, the market's telling us that property is sitting in that $650,000 to $690,000 band. Just sticking really simply with the facts, trying not to fill in the gaps. And where you do feel discomfort and there are gaps, you can just use this very simple question. How does that make you feel? Bailey, how do you feel? And let them bring those, fill in some of those gaps for you, because you'll be really astounded. As I said before, the vendor will start to, sorry, I need to jump back there. The vendor will start to fill in those conversations, fill in the gaps for you. I just lastly want to talk about the power of the offer and how bringing offers to a campaign helps you to control the conversations that are had when you're not in the room. So I want you to think about a situation. You've run a sales campaign and you've had 15 people through and no offers. What is your vendor thinking? What are they talking about? 15 people through, no offers. At night when they're sitting there having dinner, maybe having a glass of wine, what are they talking to each other about?
Shit, agent.
Very succinct there, Bailey. Yeah, what's my agent doing? What's Peter doing?
No, so what we like to say is no offers, blame the agent. Low offers, blame the market.
Yeah. And do you use that dialogue with your vendors?
Every now and then, yeah, but not all the time.
Yep. Absolutely. So if you've got a situation where you've got 15 people through and 2 offers, what are the vendors talking about? They're talking about the offers, right? We were at 750, but we've got that 680 and we've got the 650. I don't think we're going to get 750. So you're controlling the conversation that happens between the vendors when you produce offers. It really is your most powerful tool to get them talking about, as Bailey said, the market not having a terrible agent. So that's my content for this session. I really just want you to take away what we don't want to do with our vendors. We don't want to rescue. We don't want to give false hope. And what we do want to do is use the facts, use the interactions that we've had from the marketplace. Hi, Matt. We want to use the interactions and the feedback that is the facts of the campaign, and we want to use that information to make sure that we are giving the best advice and the best recommendations that we can throughout the campaign. Matt Bunder is one of Bailey Truscott's colleagues, is just making a guest appearance in the back there. So were there any questions before we finish? Sorry, my slides are jumping all around the place. Any questions from anybody before we finish up our session today? I hope it's been helpful. I just want you to be brave. I want you to take away with this a sense of responsibility to give your vendors the facts and to help them to make the right decision when the time comes along. Thanks, Fiona. Did you want to say something? No? All great. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for tuning in. 2 weeks' time, we've got negotiation. We're bringing in John Morris to talk about really tough auction negotiations. So it should be a great session to finish off on. I hope you have a great afternoon, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.